It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
You know how to cut to the core of me, Baxter. You're so wise. But like a miniature Buddha, covered in hair.
I want to become a guru so girls will like me. Then I will like myself.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
What's up, all you hack and teaching pros out there, high-performing golf coaches and continuous learners? Welcome to the Golf Guru Show. I am your host, Jason Sutton, aka The Guru. If you've been listening to the last season, thank you so much. And if you are new to the program, I want to welcome you to another season of learning and growing and improving your craft. With the golf landscape trending towards the importance of developing speed, especially if you want to play at the highest level, then this episode is for you, because my guest today is Michael Romatowski. A little background on Michael. Michael is a multi-certified personal trainer, golf fitness expert, and post-rehab exercise specialist. He is level 2 TPI certified and Tejada Golf certified as well. He's also certified as a posture and alignment specialist. If you haven't already heard of him, you will very soon, because he's getting some incredible results with speed production with his golfers of all levels, all ages, in which piqued my curiosity for sure. His players are gaining an average of 11.5 miles per hour driver speed, which is just simply incredible. And then when you got guys like John Sinclair, Tyler Farrell, and Chris Como, guys that are at the top of our teaching game, spending time with you and coming to visit and seeing what's going on with your program, you're clearly doing something special and definitely something to look into to help your players as well. So you can find Michael on Instagram and Facebook at Michael Romatowski. That is Michael, Romatowski. So I would suggest you check that out. Follow him on Instagram. He's got a bunch of great videos and some stuff he's doing with his students. Also check out his website as well at michaelromatowski.com and look into what he's calling the Mach 3 program, which we discuss in detail in this very informative and interesting conversation. So let's get to this shorter than usual interview for my standards, which I know a lot of you coaches out there and students alike will thoroughly enjoy, with Mr. Michael Romatowski. All right, Michael, welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for coming on and taking the time. I know you're a busy guy.
Well, thanks for asking me. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
So take us back through your career. I think this is an interesting show that all of us golf professionals and teaching professionals are going to be perking up to, because we're going to talk a lot about speed production and some of the cool stuff that you're doing. So just give us some lineage of your career and sort of how you got to where you are today and into the golf space now and all this cool stuff you're doing with speed.
Sure, yeah. So I've been in fitness my entire life, starting probably 1985, and was in personal training. And about that time, a little bit after that, I started playing golf and just fell in love with it. So jumping ahead about probably 13, 14 years, I had written a little book, which I hope nobody ever finds or reads, because as I look back on it now, I didn't have much idea what I was talking about at the time. But it was a book about weight training for golf. And then I got a call from a guy named Greg Rose, who was a chiropractor. Yeah, he was a chiropractor, and he was from my same town. And he had decided to only work with golfers within his practice. So he called me and asked me to come over, which I did. And basically I realized now he wanted to tell me that I didn't know what I was talking about in kinder words than that. But a really interesting guy, because still to this day, probably the smartest guy I've ever met in the world of golf fitness. And so at the time he had a workshop he was teaching called the Body Swing Connection. And I had my own workshops in the fitness world. And so I started working out of his chiropractic clinic 3 days a week, because he had a a smallish workout area and a hitting net. And we started teaching some of our workshops together. So at the time, what he was actually doing was formulating what became later TPI. And so just by fate, I saw the creation of that and was kind of around on the scene as he created that, and was able to really learn that from the roots of it. And so soon after that, decided I also was only going to work with golfers. And that's what I did in Maryland for the next 16, 18 years, although it was a little different than what I do now because I didn't have the space available to me that I have now. So I was more kind of a golf rehab person, helping golfers with their injuries, taking golfers who were coming out of physical therapy and kind of segueing them back into the game. Was able to do a little bit of speed training, but not much just because of space limitations. So then about, I'd say 2007, 2008, I met a guy named Kelvin Miyahira, and he was a really talented golf instructor from Hawaii. And he was using some tools made from chain. So he, on one of his trips to the United States, I was lucky enough to spend 3 or 4 days with him, and he really got me interested in speed training. And to this day, a couple of his tools that he was making from chain are still in our program. So then jumping ahead another 8 years or so, I got a chance to move to San Antonio, which I did. So now in a much warmer climate, and with a much bigger gym and with an opportunity to have a big outdoor space also, decided simply to go with speed training exclusively. So we started a program called Mach 3, and the only goal is clubhead speed. That's basically all we do, and developed a bunch of tools made from rope and various kinds of handles. And we just have had huge success with it across the board, an average clubhead speed gain of 11.5 miles an hour.
Wow.
So
impressive.
obviously I feel really good about that, but another thing that I feel good about is our biggest demographic in the program is age 50 to 69. And they've actually outperformed the average. They're at about an increase of 12.5 miles an hour. So we were able to kind of shoot down some myths that existed concerning clubhead speed, which was that only young athletic guys could gain speed, and that once you were in even your 30s or 40s, much less 50s or 60s, that you couldn't get any faster. But we proved that wrong. We've had well over 200 golfers in this program, and we have about a 99.5% success rate. And it exists on 2 levels. Basically, the first thing that happens is when a person first comes in, we're going to get them 2 to 8 miles an hour of clubhead speed that they're walking in the door with. They just don't know it. So we're going to show them how to access that.
So,
and then beyond that,
let me stop you there. Like break that down for us as you go through this, because you're doing a fantastic job of answering all the questions that I was going to give you, which is awesome.
You can shut me up at any time.
No. This is great. I want you to be a little bit more detailed. So it's like,
sure.
Take us through your program as they walk into the door, and then give us a little bit of detail, what you can, about how you get them those miles per hour early. Right. And then I'm really curious about the rehab part too, because I think that's such a great attribute for a trainer, because you're making them stronger, making them more functional, but you're also keeping them healthy.
Right. So everybody has a reservoir of speed with the body that they're in. So in other words, we haven't even started training yet. We're just meeting you. You're just coming in. As long as you're not injured. So the screening process, so to speak, is are you injured? There's really 2 questions you could boil it down to. Are you injured, and are you lying to me? Because like you gotta find out the real deal. We don't do tremendously detailed physical screens on healthy golfers anymore, because we have an entire Mach 1 and Mach 2 program for that. So as long as the golfer's injury free, we're going to see what they've got right away. And when I say that everybody has a reservoir of speed, we have a concept. The single thought and application that we can give a golfer is what we call speed out in front, meaning we never ever talk about backswings or downswings. We never even mention it. We teach them to have the intention of speeding up past the ball. So in other words, out in front of the ball.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like that.
And we have tools that enable them to feel exactly what that feels like. So we don't teach the swing, and we don't need to teach the swing. We need to teach a very clear intention of speed out in front, and then give them a tool that enables them to do that. So once they understand that and buy into that and have the proper tool, they're going to pick up 2 to 8 miles an hour. And our exact statistics are actually out of 225 golfers, 222 have gained 2 to 8 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what's the process look like there?
I've seen it work so many times. Yeah, I've seen it work so many times that I have proven it to myself beyond any doubt. And so we haven't changed a single muscle fiber in that golfer's body. They haven't even trained yet.
Wow.
But we can find them 2 to 8, and that's from any level of golfer.
Yeah.
We've had some really high level golfers in here, and you're kind of wondering, well, gosh, they're already so fast. Can they also get faster? But they do. Then beyond that is the training. So once you start to train with the proper tools and the proper protocols, you're going to get another 2 to 8. So in the big picture, you're looking at 4 to 16 miles an hour of added clubhead speed. And what'll happen if you stop training, eventually you will lose the 2 to 8 that you trained for, but you should never lose the 2 to 8 that you got from the concept.
So the baseline is basically raised, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. What's the process look like? Because this is what I was curious about. I've seen, done some research on all your tools, which are really interesting. The Black Mama, the Jet Stick, the Speed Snake.
Right.
I love my favorite's the Velociraptor. You're right in the shout. Do you take everybody through the same progression with those tools, or do you decide based on what you see that player doing or not doing to get them that speed or to put a program together?
So the initial the initial session is called the speed check, and it follows the same protocol until the end of it. So we get everybody completely warmed up. We don't want them hitting a single ball until they tell us that they're completely ready.
Now, what's that look like? What's the warm up?
We do basically a bunch of kind of dynamic mobility warm ups. I don't know if you're familiar with Tathata golf, but we use that as a big part of our warm-up. And once the body's warmed up, we let them swing their driver as many times as they want, and then we let them hit as many warm-up shots as they want, because we just want to know that they are completely ready to give us their best when we start to measure.
Sure. So
after the warm-up, it's usually about a 12 to 14-minute warm-up. Then they hit 5 balls, and we measure just with a simple Doppler radar. It's called a swing speed radar.
Okay, that's my other question. Are you using TrackMan, or what are you using to measure the speed?
We use only a simple radar because I don't want anybody distracted by any other information other than clubhead speed. And although you can set a TrackMan to only show you the speed,
right,
it's too tempting. It's too tempting for people to want to know other things. And the one thing that we have found, as soon as you introduce another goal or another train of thought other than clubhead speed, they won't make as good progress.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If we were to give you our 10 golden rules of speed training, number 1 is do not mix your goals. So we're only about the clubhead speed, and that's it. We have had TrackMan in here a couple times just to see how it compared to the radar that we're using. But we only use the swing speed radar for the most part. And so It's a single device measuring a single data point, and that's really what we want in order to keep everybody focused on the goal at hand.
Yeah, as long as it's consistent, it doesn't really matter if it's perfectly accurate, right? I mean, all you're looking is for gains.
It's extremely consistent,
Yeah.
and it's accurate. It's just measuring differently than a TrackMan.
Gotcha.
It's measuring the fastest thing coming through the field, but it's extremely accurate. And so what we found when we compare it to a TrackMan, at slower speeds, let's say a golfer is swinging at 80 on a TrackMan, it'll be 80 on our device also.
Okay.
Then as the speed gets higher, you'll start to see a spread. So 100 on a TrackMan is 106, 107, possibly 108 on ours. If you get up to 120 on a TrackMan, you're probably looking 132-ish on our device. Our long drive competitor, Tyler Barton, when he did 154 on our device, it was 141 on a TrackMan.
Wow,
so
that's heat.
there starts to be a spread at the higher speeds, but as long you can use any device you want, as long as you use the same device all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So take us through. So you've got them warmed up. What's the first thing you do?
Mm-hmm. They hit 5 balls measured, and we record the average of that and the highest speed of that. So that's the baseline that we're working from. Then we show them the tool that we call the jet stick, based very closely on Kelvin Miyahiro's tool from the past that he called an NOS device, which stood for neuromuscular overspeed. I don't actually consider our tool to be overspeed. I consider it more of a proprioceptive learning tool. So what it enables the golfer to do is sense when the club is releasing and when the speed is the greatest, even by the sound of it. The sound that it makes, if you try to make it further and further out in front of you, that's what we're looking for.
Gotcha.
So after those first 5 balls, we introduce the jet stick and we introduce our concept of speed out in front. And that's the big eye opener, because what you're telling the person is, look, your speed is not going to come in the transition or down at the ball. It's not going to come on the backside of the swing. It's going to come from your intention to be super fast out in front of the ball. And when you do that, you use your body in a completely different way. And we don't have to tell you how to do it. We don't have to say, do this with your arms, do that with your hips, do this with your shoulders, shift your weight this way. We don't have to say a word about that. We say, swing this thing as fast as you can out in front and listen to that sound faster and faster out in front. And what happens is they shed their wasted motion. So it becomes a very, very efficient move. And that's where the speed comes from. It has nothing to do with swinging harder, nothing at all to do with that. It has to do with becoming more efficient because of your intention. And it's a big eye opener because all of a sudden they're going to go up 2 to 8.
Wow.
And they have no idea what happened. But what happened is they taught themselves something. You know, we like to say they're going to teach themselves with very minimal instruction from us. And in the words of my partner, Jeff Young, it's the difference between trying to swing harder and allowing yourself to be faster. And there's a big difference. There's a huge difference, because if you try too hard, you're going to try too hard too soon. You're going to dump your energy right into the ground instead of projecting it out in front of you. So it's really a matter of how you use your energy. And that's something you can't measure. You can't measure what's in a golfer's head in terms of how they're trying to use their energy. You can measure you can see the result of it. But what's in your head is in your head, you know?
Right.
So that's the concept, is speed out in front, and you're going to teach yourself how to do it. So now you're going to be sensing the motion as a whole and not trying to intellectualize the parts. And that's where everybody gets stuck. They get stuck trying to analyze it too much, and they get stuck in the backswing and the downswing, expending too much energy too soon.
So you don't address like, okay, we need more rotation, or we need a longer backstroke? Is that all does that all come from the exercises that sort of happen?
That at all. And if you
Right.
come in and you ask me that question, we'll yell at you. If you say, well, should I, starting down, should I toll the bell or should I fire my hips? Then we probably won't punch you, but we'll yell at you because it's not a matter of that. You're not trying to think of what movements will make you faster. You're trying to allow your intention of speed out in front to create the movements for you. And you'll do it. You'll use your body in a very efficient way. It's just like if you're to show me any sports motion, I want you to show me the finish first. I want you to show me the end, because immediately I can conceptualize how to get there. And so that's what we're doing. We're basically saying what matters here is the end of the movement, not where the ball is, because the ball is not the end of the movement. So the ball happens to intercept the club face on the way through, but all of your energy and all of your focus and all of your strength and all of your speed is projected out in front toward the end of the movement. So, for example, if I was to say, Jason, I'm going to teach you how to punch me in the face, what I really am going to say is aim at a spot 10 inches behind the back of my head.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's all it is. It's actually not more complicated than that. You could try to make it more complicated, and then it'll be 2045 and you'll still be trying to figure out how to hit the ball.
So how did you deal with my buddy Mr. Sinclair when he came down? I'm sure he had a lot of those questions of what's going on, because we want to know what's going on with everything, because we're overanalyzing it like golf instructors do.
Well, that was a great day because he was here with a really, really talented group of instructors. Tyler was here,
right.
Chris Como was here that day, a bunch of other ones. And in fact, those guys are way out of my league in how they understand the technology. So when we went to lunch, I just sat quietly eating my pasta while they had a conversation about all the tech, and I had no idea what they were talking about. But he was really interesting, John Sinclair, because first of all, I think he picked up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour that day, as they all did.
Nice.
But he really bought into it, and I think we won him over very quickly, and he's very open-minded anyway.
For sure.
Even though he's a very smart guy and he understands all the tech, he really bought into it pretty quickly. But that's what happens when you can give the results, they will buy in, because it's happening right in front of their eyes, and it's happening to them as well as other people in the class. So it's a simple concept.
So how did you initially come up with that idea? Was it a lot of trial and error, or was there a moment where you go, oh, I think we've got something here with the intention, as opposed to, figuring out all the joints and how the body's moving? Because you obviously have that knowledge with the TPI, and I know they go through graphs, and I know all about that as well. So how did you sort of wean yourself off of the information and just get that basic?
Well, I'm TPI certified.
Right, that's what I'm talking
back.
About. Yeah.
And I think TPI is great. I love TPI. It just so happened that I also became certified in Tathata golf, and what Tathata is golf body movement that's pulled straight from the world of martial arts, and they have a mantra that they call energy out in front. And it's not only physical energy, but mental energy in Tathata. But in going through the Tathata training and then watching golfers, and especially golfers who were trying to get faster, it was all of a sudden very, very clear what was happening is that they were dumping their energy into the ground, because they're orienting all their body movements and their focus to the ball.
Right.
And so what happens in terms of how you use your energies, you start to think, I have to go up, which is the backswing, and then down, which is the downswing, and then up again into the follow-through. So you can see that that's very inefficient. And it's like instead of driving in a straight line, you keep turning a corner. So I got the idea, okay, we need to shift all of the attention and the focus and the speed itself way out in front, way out in front. So no matter how far out in front you think it is, it probably should be further.
Wow.
And in that way, the ball becomes irrelevant. And in a certain sense, the backswing and the downswing, they don't become irrelevant, but they become your instinctive way of loading your body so that you can go to the end destination. And so all the little things that you do that are inefficient, all of a sudden they disappear because you don't need them anymore. You only needed them when you were orienting yourself down at the ball. But once your goal is quite far out in front of you, and in a certain sense up and to the left for a right-handed golfer, but once you're just trying to get to the finish as fast as you can, and you're trying to actually speed up, you could think of it as speeding up after the ball is already gone. So an analogy might be if I say I want you to run a 10-yard dash and I want you to speed up across the finish line. So once you start doing that, like I say, you shed your wasted motion, your extra motion. Everything becomes very efficient, and then you're faster. And all you have to do is buy into the fact that you're faster because you were more efficient. And you're more efficient because you were trying to be faster. They go together.
Yeah, I like it. That's awesome. So back to that progression piece. So how do you know what piece of training aid to use at what time, and sort of how do you take them through it?
Right. The first one is always the jet stick.
Okay.
Then the second one for a long time was what we call a speed chain, which was the speed chain I have in my gym actually was purchased directly out of the trunk of Kelvin Miyahira's car probably 12 years ago. But speed chains are very difficult to get now. I don't actually know of anybody making them anymore. They're hard to make. They're hard to ship. They're hard to tote around, set them up, all of that. So we eventually made a tool we call a speed snake out of rope to replace the speed chain, and that's what we use. So that's our second tool. And that enables, what that does is make a golfer much more dynamic because of the way that we make the handle. The handle is part stiff and part flexible.
So that's the PVC with a little bit of flex at the top.
Our handles, there's 4 different flexibilities of PVC that we combine in different ways for different tools and different lengths and different ratios. But basically, it's a PVC handle, and then we use a certain type of rope that has a really good action to it. So that speed snake is the second tool, and one of 2 things will happen at that point. After we have the golfer do some drills with the speed snake, they'll jump up again, or they could be getting tired, in which case you'll see them level out.
Right.
And at that point, the speed check's going to be over. So in not only the speed check, but the entire program, we have to protect the golfer from getting tired. We're not trying to make them tired. We're trying to make them fast.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing to jump in there real quick that I heard that you do that I thought was really cool was making sure that they're rested and they're not fatigued as they're doing the exercises. Explain that a little bit and why that's important.
Right. Well, we're only looking for performance. So if we wanted to make you tired, we'd say, Jason, go run up and down that hill 10 times. And then you'll be tired and then you'll be slow. So we're trying to protect you. We're trying to manage the fatigue level so that your performance is better and better. And so that is not only during the speed check, but during the workouts themselves. And that's one thing I think that is the most surprising to the golfers that come in is we're not trying to make them tired. So the sets are very, very short. They have plenty of time to recover. And what we want them to feel like when they walk out the door is that they could rip a tree out of the ground.
Oh, wow.
So if you're crawling out of here and you feel like you're going to heave your guts in the parking lot, then I was a miserable failure. We're not trying to make you tired. We're not trying to make you feel bad. We're not trying to make it so you have to have 3 days to recover. you should be able to leave the class and go play right then and there. And in fitness, there is a big matchup in a lot of people's minds between fatigue and a good workout. So in other words, a workout's only good if I'm exhausted. It's only good if I'm hurting, if I'm in pain. And we don't buy into that at all. We want you to feel better, and we want you to feel stronger and faster. And the workout's going to be over at what you would call the top of the workout. In other words, when you feel the best, it's over.
Gotcha.
And then you're going to be fast. Then you're going to be fast when you go into the net. And, you know, I've had parents watching the workouts sometimes with kids, and the kid's up 6, 8, 10, 12 miles an hour. And I get the question, well, I don't understand how you're getting these results. You don't seem to be pushing him that hard. And I say, well, you didn't ask me to make him tired. You asked me to make him fast.
Wow.
Right?
That's eye-opening right there for sure.
Yeah.
How often are you testing him during this program? Like after each exercise, or is there like just a sort of a random call of like, okay, let's test him now and see where we're at?
Basically, they're being tested during every workout because they're going to hit 5 or 10, maybe even 15 balls at various intervals of the workout. You know, the big draw to the program is they're coming in and they're competing not only with themselves, but the other people in the class. Everybody's competitive and supportive at the same time. So everybody in the class wants you to get faster. You want to get faster. If your buddies are in here, you're trash talking probably and, you know, throwing down the gauntlet. But it's a competitive environment. But the interesting thing is within that scenario, the good golfers and the strong, fast golfers are very supportive of the more average golfers or golfers of lesser physical capabilities. So everybody's pulling for everybody.
That has to be probably one of the most underrated pieces of that program, right? I mean, it's the group aspect of it, of like you said, the people pulling for each other, and you know, there's got to be the environment has to be huge in that scenario.
Yeah, it is. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, I can tell you, speed training is the most fun way to train for sure.
Oh yeah.
And the interesting thing is, regardless of the ability of the golfer, they're doing the exact same workout. And that is really a departure, I think, from the thought process that everybody is such an individual that you have to design very individualized programs for each person.
Sure.
So we have our world-long drive guy in here training right alongside with a 12-year-old kid and a 55-year-old woman and a 48-year-old businessman. It's the same workout. Their physical capabilities will dictate how much intensity they can create within a set. But you don't have to have different workouts for different people. It's really been interesting and to see that. And I'm only telling you what we've seen and what we've proven to ourselves.
Right.
I'm not even telling you what I think, because nobody should care what I think. You should only care what I've proven and what we've proven and what we've proven to ourselves.
Right.
So
that's a good point.
We're only teaching what has worked the best. Everything else has been jettisoned out of the program. So we're not really dealing in theories anymore. We tested all the theories and we found out what worked, and that's what we do.
So how many sets do they do, and like how many reps? And then, because it's got to take a decent amount of time, right? Is a class like 3 or 4 hours? Or,
No.
I mean, how
the class is an hour.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's about a 12, maybe 14-minute warm up. We run basically what you would call circuit training usually.
Right. You
the
get different stations.
Sets are very, very short. They're usually 6 to 8 seconds. Because what we're looking for is the golfer to be able to put all of their energy into the set, but then the set is over before they can get tired. So that's a big thing.
Sure.
The set has to be over with before you slow down. The actual workout part is maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Then the group is kind of split into smaller groups, and some will be hitting and measuring in the net, and others will be doing some auxiliary work. We use what's called Rotex motion devices. We do some med ball training. But the whole thing is, it only lasts an hour. And the goal is, Jason, if you were in a class, we want you smiling and laughing when you're leaving and feeling great. Like I say, if you're tired, I'm going to be thinking to myself, boy, I didn't do him any favors.
Right.
You know?
That's got to be the biggest difference, probably, what we've been doing to our kids and wearing them out.
It's also, I think, one of the attractions to the 50s and 60s year-old age groups,
for sure,
is they know we're not going to kill them. You know, we know that they know we're going to be protective of their fatigue levels. And so they know that they're actually going to feel better when they leave than when they came in. And I think that's a big draw.
Man, that's awesome. That is amazing. I'm really excited now. I mean, I knew a little bit about it, and now, like, you've really piqued my curiosity. I'm going to book a flight coming down and see you.
Yeah, we're ready for you. We're ready for you. The program in general is also divided into off-season, pre-season, and in-season segments. And the main reason for that is, if we have competitive golfers during their actual competitive season, we want to make sure that the program is supporting their tournament play and not being any kind of an impediment to their best performance. So during the actual season, when most of the tournaments are played, the sets and the reps and even the tools are slightly different. The off season is more what we would call strength building, even though we do almost no weight training, but we use heavier tools in the off season.
Gotcha.
The preseason, which is right now, January, February, March, things start to get more explosive. The tools become a little bit lighter. And then in season, we're really trying to protect them. So everything is super fast during the competitive season, but we're making sure that we're not wearing them out.
So it's like the time limit that they do the exercises are a little bit smaller? Is that what you're saying? Just like little small bursts?
Probably smaller bursts, yeah, and more rest in between.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. Slightly lighter weight ropes in the tools. So it's in season, you're going really for pure speed. You're taking advantage of the strength that you built in the off season and really going for pure speed, because it's a big thing to us. With a high level competitive golfer, it's a lot easier for you to make them worse than it is for you to make them better. And if you get too ambitious with the physical demand of the workout, that's going to be a problem. So we're very protective of our golfers. Kind of what I like to say is, we want to treat them like a race car and not like a beat up old pickup truck.
I like that. That's really good. So I know you've got to get back to making people faster. So is there anything that I haven't asked you or you would like to cover that you would like the listeners to be aware of? Because you've been great with your time.
I would say for people that, we're lucky. We've had coaches for several months now, most of the year, coming in from all over the country and even overseas to learn this program. But we also have an online group for coaches and for individual golfers. Those are run through closed, secret Facebook groups. But it's a way for people who just simply can't get to San Antonio to actually do our program. So if anyone's interested in that, they can just find me on Facebook and message me.
Okay.
And I can tell them how to get into those groups. And, we're just really happy with how this has gone. We have college teams now using our program, college coaches coming in, even bringing their strength and conditioning guys with them, which is kind of cool because they can see how they can take these tools back to their other types of athletes. So, we're just really happy with how this has gone. And we're just going to keep forging ahead, because we're driven by success, and we've been really fortunate to be very successful with it.
Well, that's the main reason I wanted you on the show, because you're doing such great work, and it's cool because I know you probably aren't like super marketing yourself, but it just gets out there because I'm looking at your Instagram stuff. Teachers are talking about you, which you've got something really good, and the results are there. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Give the listeners your website, your Instagram handles, and all that's where they can kind of reach out and say thank you and look at your stuff.
Right. So my website is just myname.com. So it's www.michaelromatowski.com. On Facebook, I'm on as Michael Romatowski, and also Michael Romatowski Mach 3 speed training.
Awesome.
Yeah. So easy to find on Facebook. We have a kind of a really big Facebook following, and that's where they can see videos every day, of the stuff we're doing. And I post the workshop schedules on the business page. So that's an easy way to keep track of me. I usually am up against the Facebook friend limit. So sometimes if people give me a friend request, they can't get in. But I try every few days to go in and create some space there. And also they can go to the business page, which is, again, Michael Romatowski Mach 3 speed training.
That's fantastic. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time, and keep up the great work. Keep making people
Jason.
faster.
I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Appreciate it. Hope I talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. What's up, everybody? Guru back here again with a couple of things before you go. First, big thank you to Michael Romatowski for coming on the show and sharing such great information on speed production and his programs. Make sure you check out his website at Michael Romatowski and check out his Mach 3 program, which is just awesome. You can also reach out to Michael on Instagram and Facebook at Michael Romatowski. You can follow me or reach me on Twitter or Instagram at Golf Guru TV. Also, check out my website at golfgurutv.net, where you can find videos, articles, and more information on my teaching and coaching. If you have a question or a comment about the show, send me an email at golfgurushow@gmail.com or hit me up on the DM. This show and all episodes of the Golf Guru Show were produced by myself, Jason Sutton. Music is by Zach Mullett, aka Cutta Beats. Leave me an iTunes review. Let me know how I'm doing. That's the way we start to grow this show. That would be awesome. Appreciate your feedback. And as always, study, practice, teach, and then pass it on. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much for listening.